Alright, I want to make this video because this is a thought that I want to claim as mine. Not sure if it's been taught this way anywhere else. I showed this idea to a jazz teacher at UT Dallas where I work, and the fall semester of last year. And he had never thought of this before, or heard of this before, so that means that maybe nobody else has discussed this before. I'm going to talk about the melodic minor scale and the modes of the melodic minor scale, but another way you can think about them with recursive-esque harmony I've mentioned before. Recap that very quickly. Take the octave and divide it into equal intervals. So you got here to here, that's 12. If you divide it by 3 equal intervals, you get the augmented triad. If we alter any note by some degree of this triad, it can be any of them, it will always end up as the same type of chord next because it divides the octave. So if I take this C and I raise it up to this C sharp, then I get an I get a C sharp minor triad. So if I raise any tone, I'll get a minor triad. Instead of doing C, if I raise E to F, I get an F minor triad, and instead of doing C or E, if I do this A flat to A, I get an A minor triad. So any raising of any note in this kind of chord will create a minor triad. Conversely, or alternatively, if I lower any note, if I take a C, let me just write it out as a single triad. There we go. If I take this C and I lower it to a B, I'll get a major triad. I'll get E major. If I take this E and raise it to E flat, or sorry, lower it to E flat, I get an A flat major. And if I lower this A flat to G, I get a C major triad. So that's the idea behind recursive harmony. And dominant chords kind of work, or not dominant chords, diminished chords work the same. If this is your octave from here to here and you divide it into 4 equal parts, you get the diminished 7th, full diminished. And if I alter any of those tones, I can get the same kind of chord quality. The inversions make it kind of confusing. But like, let's say we lower any tone. So if I take this A and I lower this, or sorry, if I take this D sharp, E flat, and lower to a D, I get a D7. If I lower this F sharp, I get an F7. If I lower this A, I get A flat 7. If I lower this C, I get a B flat 7, so, or a B7. So any lowering of these notes gives you a dominant chord, and then any raising gives you like a minor 6 chord. That's one way you can think about it. So anyway, I want to talk about now. I want to talk about the melodic minor scale and how this concept connects with the dividing the octave. So I'm just going to highlight the notes of the melodic minor, just C melodic minor. First thing when learning about this, the way I tried to think about it was just, okay, we're just taking the major scale, which would be everything in green, and I'm just lowering one note. And that's how you get the melodic minor scale. But then it started to get confusing for me when I had to think of inversions of the scale or like other key signatures, like third mode of melodic minor, but it's G. So then I was like, well, that's just really confusing. Like I have to think about what G would be in the scale pattern. Like it'd have to be a minor third, so it'd be E. So then it'd be E melodic minor. So then that would be like G melodic minor. Then where's my cursor? G melodic would be like this. It'd be these degrees, because it would be, or this G third mode would be E melodic. That's just a lot. Like it's a lot of like thoughts to connect. And I wanted to think of another way of connecting these patterns. So, because the more ways you can think of things, the more intuitive they become, I guess, or you get more perspectives on how they work. So, color 2. Okay, perfect. So then, I want to think of another way. Then I started just looking at it, and I noticed a pattern in melodic minor, which was I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes that are whole tone together, which looks like the whole tone series. The whole tone series is just you just go in whole steps all the way. It divides the octave into 6 equal parts. And so the whole tone scale is technically, it is recursive because you're dividing the octave perfectly and you're moving the same amount each time. So then I thought, okay, that looks a lot like the whole tone series or the whole tone scale. What is different about it? Because there's 5 notes that are the same, 2 that are different. Then I just noticed these 2 notes here are just alterations of this note from the original whole tone scale. So then I thought, okay, all I've done is I've taken this one note and I've split it in 2. I've altered it both ways and added both notes to the scale. So then, once I realized that, I thought, oh, wait, but then that means that the whole tone scale, since it's recursive, and I lower 2 notes, it can be any 2 notes since it's recursive. Or I'm sorry, it can be any note of the whole tone scale. As long as I raise it and lower it, then that means it will be a mode of melodic minor. So then I thought about that and I tried it out. So like, I'm going to clear my color scheme here. So let's just take C whole tone, these 6 notes. And I'll add the last C in for octave's sake. Okay. Let's start with this note right here. I'm going to take this note and I'm going to split it 2 ways. So that would give us the first thing I want to do then is try and identify which scale of the, like what's the base melodic minor scale that would be. And so for that, I'm thinking, okay, where's my half step at the end? The half step leads up to there's a leading tone to the 1, right? So the half step would be right here or here. But to fit the melodic minor scale, it needs to go up a minor third. So that means here we have our half step and then it goes up a minor third. So this would be C sharp melodic minor, but starting on C. So if you take your whole tone, you're thinking, okay, I'm at C is my bottom note of the whole tone scale, and I split the 2nd degree. There's also a lot of steps involved in this. But I like it because instead of thinking about your reference key being this and then modulating it to C, or like lowering it to C, you can instead just think, I want to do an alteration of C whole tone. Okay, so I'm going to flat and raise the 2nd tone. Or I'm going to flat and raise the 3rd tone. Or I'm going to flatten and raise the 4th tone. So all of those are variants where C is the bottom note, so it's some like mode, whether it be 1st, 2nd, 3rd. It can't be 1st, but 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th mode of any of the other melodic minors. All of them have C in the bass. So then, yeah, I mean, that's basically it. The power lies in that. If I want C to be the bottom note, I would have to be in a different, to get C melodic minor, I would have to be in a different whole tone scale. Because for C melodic, you've got these 5 in a row here. So then to get that, C doesn't fit in that whole tone scale, so then we have to alter another tone from this whole tone scale, which would be the C sharp. So if C sharp is my bottom note and I lower it and raise it, then you get C melodic minor. So basically, if you take your bottom note of your whole tone scale and raise it and lower it, alter it, then you get the root, like parent melodic minor. So yeah, this is just like something you can think about things, a way to think about things. Melodic minor stuff. I don't really use it that much, but because I don't use melodic minor too much when playing. But yeah, like I've also heard people describe melodic minor as like a combination of diminished and augmented, because you've got like this minor third portion, diminished portion, and then you've got like this whole tone portion. Like you've got augmented triad here, and then you've got like the beginning of something diminished here. You could say like this. But anyway, yeah, so basically melodic minor is just an alteration of the whole tone scale, and if you take any whole tone scale and flatten, take one note, alter it both ways, you get a mode of melodic minor. So it's just a cool way of thinking about it. And I like it because the bottom note doesn't change. So conventionally speaking, if I'm like, okay, I want C to be fourth mode melodic minor, then you got to think, okay, well, in the fourth mode, that's like Lydian, so that would be F sharp melodic, but I want to play C, so then for F sharp melodic, I would need these notes. Whoops, not that. Hang on. F sharp melodic. Yeah, so it'd be like these. But to me, I'm just like, oh, or I can just think about that as I'm just taking C whole tone and then lowering these this note to these, changing this F sharp to these two notes. Or wait, that wouldn't be it. It would be this one. Take C whole tone, change this one, and then you get C fourth mode, F sharp, whatever. Basically, you don't have to think about it in terms of the parent melodic minor. You can think about it in terms of the root note you want to do, and then the alteration of like the take the whole tone scale and then do alterations on it to get the right mode that you want, basically, without having to rethink from the root. Because I'm a bass player, I like to think about from the root first, because the root is the fundamental note of the chord and the harmony. So it decides what the chord is, the identity. So when I'm thinking about it, I don't want to think like, oh, well, I want fourth mode, so like what's the four? It'd be like F sharp, or like, oh, I need the seventh mode. Then it's like, oh shit, well, like if it's the seventh note of melodic minor, and it'd be like, okay, that's like this one, or they're just like thinking about it in terms of the root. So yeah, that's basically it. Just want to get this out, to say that I've thought about this independently by myself, and it's another way to think about music. So I hope that helps, and goodbye.